Hello my precious friends, I really hope that you're doing great. Welcome to today's class. It's our third lesson on scientific investigation. So today we are looking at a special room which is called a laboratory. Now a laboratory is very critical and essential in integrated science since it helps us to perform experiments and practical work. Now remember, in science we said we learn through observation and experimentation. So let's start by defining what we mean by a laboratory. So a laboratory is simply a special room which is designed and equipped for conducting experiments and practical work in science. So we are saying that it is designed in a special way because it has various systems that help us to perform experiments. Examples of such systems: we have the gas piping system, we have the electrical energy supply network system, we also have the water piping system. The laboratory is usually highly ventilated to allow aeration so that if there are any harmful fumes from the gases, they can easily get out of the laboratory, hence enhancing the safety of those conducting the experiments. We're also saying that the laboratory is highly equipped, meaning that it has various equipment which we are calling apparatus. So the apparatus are simply equipment that help us to perform practical work in the laboratory. Examples of apparatus: we have the thermometer, we have the volumetric flask, we have the conical flask, we have the burette, we also have the pipette, among so many other apparatus. Now, an average laboratory must have the following systems. One, we have the gas piping system. So the gas piping system, this simply ensures efficient gas delivery for performing practicals and experiments. Examples of gases that need the gas piping system: one, we have the nitrogen gas, we have the oxygen gas, and we also have the hydrogen gas. So these are simply examples of gases that need to be supplied within the gas piping system. Also, an average laboratory must have what we call the electrical energy supply network. So the purpose of electrical energy supply network is for powering the electrical gadgets. For example, we have what we call the electronic balance. We have the electronic balance, which is simply a special instrument that helps us in accurate measurement of mass and weight of various substances needed in performing experiments. For example, if you are needed to measure maybe 20 grams of a certain solid to be used in a practical, you need an electronic balance, of course, which needs electrical energy supply for it to operate optimally. Then we also have what we call the water piping system, which is a very critical system within an average laboratory. That is the water piping system. It helps for efficient supply of pure water or the distilled water, which is essential for performing practical and experiments. So the water piping system also prevents contamination of chemicals and ensures proper waste disposal. Now, we have some common laboratory hazards that can occur in a laboratory, and of course the accidents they are likely to cause. So one of the common laboratory hazards, we have the chemicals. So of course, when we talk of chemicals, we are talking of the acids and the bases. So a good example is the hydrochloric acid, especially the concentrated one. So hydrochloric acid, it leads to an accident called eye and skin irritation. So it can cause eye irritation, it can also cause a skin irritation. So we also have another that is acid or base. This one is now a base, this one is an acid. Then we also have a base here, which is called the sodium hydroxide, which causes skin burns. So it can cause skin burns because of its concentration. Therefore, when your body gets in contact with the concentrated sodium hydroxide, you are likely to experience what we call the skin burns. Then you also have the carbon 4 oxide, which causes respiratory complications, that is challenges in breathing. So what we are calling the carbon 4 oxide, how does it cause respiratory complications, or how does it cause breathing problems? Now, when carbon 4 oxide is inhaled, it builds up in the body. Therefore, it causes a condition which we call respiratory acidosis. We have a condition called respiratory acidosis. Acidosis from the word acid, so it simply causes accumulation of acid within the body. So when carbon 4 oxide builds up in the body, it causes a condition called respiratory acidosis, which occurs when the lung can't remove enough carbon 4 oxide through breathing or through exhalation. So this causes the blood to become too acidic, since carbon 4 oxide is acidic in nature. Now, the third common laboratory hazard is what we call corrosives. For example, the Kong sulfuric acid and also the Kong hydrogen peroxide. For example, the concentrated sulfuric acid can cause skin burns when it gets in contact with your body. Then concentrated hydrogen peroxide can cause eye irritation and also the skin irritation. Therefore, you are supposed to be very careful when handling such corrosives. Now, the third common laboratory hazard is what we call the electrical hazards, especially the heating apparatus. So electricity can cause the electric shocks. It can also lead to burns. It can also lead to fire. That is, and lastly, it can also lead to explosions, especially in the sockets when not carefully handled. Now, the fourth and last common laboratory hazard is what we call the glass apparatus, which can lead to the cuts and also the bruises. Examples of glass apparatus that can lead to cuts and bruises is the burette. When not properly handled, we have the pipette. We also have the glass conical flask. We also have things such as the scalpel, which can lead to cuts and bruises. Now, next we look at the common hazards and their symbols in a common integrated science laboratory. So the first hazard symbol is this particular symbol here, which represents corrosives. We've said examples of corrosives. We have Kong sulfuric acid and also concentrated hydrogen peroxide. So the interpretation of this particular symbol is that the substance can destroy the living tissues. Remember, they can corrode your living tissues in the hands and also equipments on contact. So when you get in contact with Kong sulfuric acid with your naked hand, it's likely to destroy the tissues, the living tissues within your body. Therefore, the caution that should be taken whenever you see this symbol in the laboratory is that you avoid inhaling vapor, since vapor from Kong sulfuric acid and also hydrogen peroxide can lead to irritation of the eye and also within the nose. So avoid inhaling vapor and also avoid contact with the skin and the eye, because it can lead to skin burns and also eye irritation. Then you also have this symbol which stands for an oxidizer. A good example is hydrogen peroxide is a good oxidizer. That is, it can easily give away the oxygen. We also have the nitric acid. We have potassium permanganate, which are simply good oxidizers. That is, they easily give away the oxygen, a process called oxidation. So the substance can ignite flammables. That is substance which can easily be converted to fire. Also combustibles materials, or they can also worsen existing fires by supplying them with more oxygen to encourage that fire to even light with a greater magnitude, thus making firefighting more difficult. So whenever you see an oxidizer, the caution is that you're supposed to keep away from such flammables and combustible materials. So oxidation is simply the addition of oxygen on substances to supplement or to ignite certain processes. For example, in the presence of an oxidizer, we are going to have ignition of flammables, combustible materials, or worsening the existing fires. For example, that is why we fight fire by using CO2, that is carbon dioxide, and not the oxygen. That means that oxygen is going to encourage, that is, or worsen the existing fires. Thank you very much for accompanying me until the end of this particular lesson. I do not take it for granted. In case you're new to the channel, kindly hit the subscribe button and also turn on the notification bell so that whenever I upload a new video, you'll get notified. Until next time, this is Kind Tuition Academy. Thank you very much.